Obviously, Shoe0nHead's not above criticism. Neither is Kyle Kulinski, who comes up in this argument. So I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. I certainly have some opinions on this. To me, I kind of feel like Vaush is doing this to drum up controversy and to stay relevant, because I feel like in a sense his channel is kind of plateaued as far as relevance. But that aside, I can't see this as anything else than a kind of a desperate attempt for attention, because Shoe0nHead's someone that he's been supposedly friends with for a while now, and it's not like she's been behaving differently now than she was like 6 months ago when she was like a regular on his show. Again, it's not like her tone has really changed, and if anything, she's definitely gotten more leftist as she's evolved politically. I don't really understand the instinct to make this segment.
Cynically employed by corporations. Here's an interesting hypocrisy that I've noticed. All those leftists or left-leaning people who are like, intersectionality is stupid, we should focus on class issues. And the reason they say that is because like woke corporations misuse this terminology. You know what I mean? Like, I see that all the time. It's like, Coca-Cola had a Black Lives Matter stamp. Black Lives Matter has been co-opted by corporations. Why don't the types of people who say that ever complain about working class issues being co-opted by Tucker Carlson? Why? See, my issue with liberal idpol is that when corporations misuse it to sell their products, they denigrate a valuable social movement. I don't see those types of people complain about Tucker Carlson, even though what Tucker Carlson does is dishonest, misleading. It denigrates real working class issues, and it brings...
I'm going to butt in real quick just to give a little bit of context. So this is from a video called Addressing the Anti-Woke Leftists, and here's Kyle Kulinski and obviously Shoe0nHead in the thumbnail. So obviously this video is about Kyle and Shoe primarily, and he talks a little bit about Kyle earlier in this video too, but I just want to bring that up because it's obvious that these are the two primary characters that he kind of sees as embodying this trend which he's talking about. But I find this so unfair, this notion that all someone like Kyle does is bash like woke lefties. Meanwhile, they totally give a pass to characters like Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you've been paying attention lately, but like half of fucking every secular talk video is about Fox News these days, seemingly.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like that's what immediately, like, I don't ever listen to Vaush because I think his commentary is relatively trash. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a very high opinion of Vaush. Sure, he's a good debater, but I'm not interested or curious about what his political commentary is. But the one thing I wanted to say about what we've watched so far is that it's so fucking just not true. None of the people that want to critique no, you can have a well-rounded and thoughtful critique of all of this stuff. Gavin and I are extremely critical of the corporate co-optation of, both Black liberation movements, all kinds of human liberation movements. That has to be called out. We talked to Margaret Kimberly about it. She said on our show she doesn't think it has any benefit, only detriment, because those people aren't truly concerned with with moving the ball forward on these imperatives. But what you also like, what's this that we don't talk about Tucker Carlson? Like weeks ago, we were getting pissed off that Glenn Greenwald was calling Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon socialists because that's an extreme bastardization of the term. Completely ridiculous. How often do we talk about how Josh Hawley and Tucker Carlson and these faux populists are taking very meaningful working class issues, real struggles, and using them to divide this country? We talk about it constantly. It's a fundamental theme of this show. We always say if it's not, across race, ethnicity, culture, religion, whatever the fuck would potentially divide people, then it's not true populism. It's anti-pluralism. So we make these kinds of clarifications all the time. We have a nuanced perspective on all of this stuff. And it seems like Vaush is just interested in trying to figure out gotchas that he can get people on because he doesn't have anything to do but this like weird skill of debating. And it's like, well, guess what, dude? You're only arguing with yourself. Yeah. You're just using a fucking bullshit straw man. Because why didn't you have Kyle Kulinski on his fucking show to debate this shit? You have so many fucking subscribers. You have access to all these people. This is what pisses me off. Gavin and I, if we had access to anybody, we have them on our fucking show. If we have access to you, you're getting hit up by the Vanguard. If you don't follow us on Twitter and we can't DM you, then we have to just make videos about you until we get your attention. But we will stand by that fucking word. You want to have a debate with the Vanguard? Come on our fucking show. He's big enough to have Shoe0nHead on his show. Apparently they have a working professional relationship with one another. Like, just get on and fucking talk about this shit instead of being a fucking Like what?
Yeah.
Like he knows he has no argument to stand on, so he's just arguing
I
at his
know.
screen because he knows that they would push back and destroy.
It's
fucking stupid.
It's this dumb thing that people like Vaush do, where they kind of try to imply that like that lefties like Kyle or Shoe are like in cahoots with Tucker. They're like, oh, they're like secret like Tucker stands and all this shit, when it's so obviously not true. And again, Kyle in particular, I don't pay as much attention to Shoe, admittedly, but Kyle in particular makes a lot of videos about Fox News, makes a lot of videos coming after people like Tucker Carlson, and also just this notion that like there's a dearth of fucking Tucker Carlson content on the lefty media scene. Like, bro, he's the number one cash cow for like half of BreadTube. Half of BreadTube is just every single day reacting to Tucker Carlson. And I'm sorry, guys, but and like Zach said, we do that too. We also point out Tucker Carlson's idiocy, but it's kind of fucking boring, to be honest. You know, it's kind of boring to sit here and dismantle stupid arguments from Tucker Carlson day after day after day. Not to say that it doesn't need to be done, and there's lots of channels doing it. I'm not opposed to that. They have every right to do it. Every channel has the right to talk about whatever the fuck they want. But don't act like, oh, there's some sort of a lack of criticism being directed towards Tucker Carlson, and like if you're not taking part in this chorus of like, you know, every day just making Tucker Carlson videos, then you're not lefty enough, and you're somehow feeding into this like alt-right sentiment that like identity politics is all just a ploy to whatever the fuck. Like, it's just a stupid line of logic.
It's a straw man.
Yeah, it really is. And we can take a few more minutes of that, or watch a few more minutes of this. But ultimately, I just think this is dumb. And like I said, especially with Shoe, she's if anything gotten only leftier and leftier from what I can observe. And this is someone who's regularly been a friend of Vaush's show. So I don't really understand why it just all out of the blue he's like, I now have an issue with this behavior, when he's seemingly turned a blind eye to it.
Cowardly too. Like, just have these fucking people on your show and ask them a fucking question. Look them in the eyes and say, I think you're a fucking fraud. Like, or don't. But
yeah, exactly. Anyway, we can take a few more minutes of this garbage.
Of millions of members of the proletariat onto a fundamentally counterproductive and outright destructive political road. But I don't see these types like Shoe0nHead online who see what Tucker Carlson says and go, oh, class-based issues are being abused by the elites. I don't care about them anymore. I'm going to focus on...
Okay, again, if commentators like Zach and I maybe talk more about people on the left than people on the right, it's because we are on the left. You guys are, I'm assuming that the vast majority of you people watching are on the left. It's a lot more intellectually engaging and a lot more intellectually entertaining, I think, to talk about other leftist ideas and not just sit here every day and dismantle right-wing ideas, which you guys already know are bullshit. I don't need to explain to you guys every single day.
Yeah, but anyway, we can
Black
keep
Lives Matter now. I don't see that. Actually, I see leftists like that saying Tucker Carlson's based. I don't say it's based when Coca-Cola puts out a Black Lives Matter advert, even though I like Black Lives Matter. I'm capable of recognizing
he's the only one with nuance,
degraded invocation of my political ideals, criticizing them, and then moving on. But it seems like the fact that this particular type of populist leftist is willing to drop intersectionality because of its proximity to woke corporations, but isn't willing to drop class-based analysis on account of its proximity to Tucker Carlson.
Also, the reason he keeps talking about intersectionality is because he was playing a clip where Kyle was essentially making fun of like woke corporations, like, and specifically the CIA. That recent video where they put out where they use "I'm an intersectional woman of color, cisgender, woman," all this shit, and he was mocking that. But he never said that intersectional theory was not a real thing or that it was like illegitimate. He was essentially saying that like when corporations like the CIA or the DNC, for example, when they're talking about intersectionality, it's so they don't actually have to talk about real prescriptions to problems. It's so they actually don't have to talk about policy. They can just virtue signal by using buzzwords like intersectionality. And that's a very valid point. That's very true. He never said intersectional theory is not a legitimate theory and it's actually all bullshit. No, I'm pretty sure if you actually sat down with Kyle, and I would imagine Shoe as well, they would be able to explain to you what intersectional theory is and why it actually is, meaningful. But that being said, I don't think that, Democratic or leftist politicians or whatever, people trying to, win a presidential election, for example, I don't necessarily think they should be constantly talking about intersectionality. I do think it's a turnoff for a large portion of the country. And I don't think that's, necessarily, I just think that's an honest analysis to make. You can still talk about these issues without sounding like a woke elitist.
Yeah, you don't have to compromise on your policy position, but it's all in how you're framing things, right? And so I think that's what it is. The problem that all of these people have who are resisting the corporatization of, these left movements is because they don't want to see them diluted and they don't want to see them co-opted. And I think that, that's a very fair and relevant fear. And I also think that it's reductive and, a little dumb to pretend that all of these people somehow worship Tucker Carlson. That's just a straw man, right? Come on the Vanguard, Vaush. We'll talk about Tucker Carlson. Like, we can get, like, you know what I mean?